Hello, good morning, and very happy holidays. I know some of you spoil sports might consider it early, but I don't think so. The snow might be lacking here in Seattle, but the music has begun, there's a bunch of lights up, and the Space Needle has a Christmas tree on top of it. And you know where else the holiday spirit is not lacking? Portugal. My family and I just got back from a wonderful vacation in Lisbon that we were very fortunate enough to experience, and their holiday season is in full swing. It was astonishing, to say the least. Multiple Christmas and holiday themed markets all around the city, housing hundreds of local vendors with lights strung between the tallest buildings. They had this 100-foot tree in the center of this massive square. And my sister and I, we happened across a group of carolers who were just spontaneously joining street musicians in holiday songs. It was something out of a cheesy Hallmark film, I swear. Anywho, I hope you're getting in the mood yourself. That's all. Okay, so today's case is an odd one, both in that it doesn't make sense, but also in the victim. This is the mysterious disappearance of Chance Englebert. My name is Eli, and this is Murder in the Morning. The sources I used for today heavily come from uncover.com, and then cowboystatedaily.com, CBS, and the rest I will list down below. When you think of missing persons cases, you typically don't think of a mid-20s white man born and raised on a farm. Not your typical victim profile. But I didn't pick this story just because of who Chance was, but because the answer feels just out of reach. Born on December 2nd of 1993 in South Dakota, this cowboy at heart, according to his mother, grew up on a family ranch in a small town called Burdock. According to Uncover.com, Chance competed in rodeo competitions in high school, earning a bull riding scholarship to Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It was there he earned his reputation as a champion rider and a degree in welding and diesel mechanics. This interest in welding would lead him to a love for demolition derby cars and racing. Like I said, not your typical victim profile. After college, he would meet his future wife, Bailey, with whom they would have one child together. She and her family remember Chance as a kind, hardworking, and wonderful father, not one to just disappear. Only a week before he vanished, the coal mine that employed him laid off 600 people, including Chance. But without hesitation, he accepted a job with a propane company, which he would start when he returned from a 4th of July visit with Bailey's family in Gering, Nebraska. Gering is roughly a 220-mile drive from where Chance and his family lived. The three of them spent this holiday together. I assume they attended a parade of sorts, as most do on the 4th, and on July 6th, Chance attended a golf outing with Bailey's dad and her sister's boyfriend. Quote, Bailey spoke with Chance while he was on the course, and he seemed to be in a good mood. She said the guys were drinking and having fun together. A short time later, Chance called her back and asked her to pick him up. He said he was upset over a comment that one of his golf partners made about his new job, the one at the propane company. Bailey said they didn't argue on the way back to her grandparents' house after she picked him up, but when they pulled into the driveway, Chance got out of the car and walked away. Bailey said at first she wasn't concerned because when Chance got upset, he would sometimes take a walk to cool off. After he walked out of view, Bailey tried calling to him out loud a few times, and when he didn't answer, she went looking for him but couldn't find him. He finally picked up one of her calls at 7:46 p.m. and told her he was walking south toward Kimball and hung up, end quote. That was the last time Bailey would ever talk to her husband. Kimball, for your reference, is 42 miles south of Gering. Assuming that this was his destination, it would be a 20-hour plus walk. However, his friends would later report that night that Chance informed them he was heading north to Torrington, Wyoming, and if that was his destination, it would only be a 16-hour or 32-mile jaunt by foot. Either way, it would be a long walk. Quote, the last known person to speak with Chance was his friend Matt Miller around 8:46 p.m. However, Chance's aunt received a cryptic text message from him at 9:08 p.m., and shortly after this, his phone went dark, end quote. This cryptic text was exactly that, cryptic. He sent, quote, I'm, and then a frowning face emoji, followed by another text that said, quote, just the letters IBDESEREALLYG, end quote, which immediately to me made me think that Chance could have been hammered at this point, just drunk. But anyone who had talked to him on the phone made no mention of that earlier, 15 minutes earlier. Around the same time as Chance sent this final text, a storm blew through the town of Gering, and when the weather eased, Bailey and her father drove around town in search of her husband. When Chance had still not returned by morning, Bailey contacted authorities. Uncovered reported that the Gering Police Department launched an investigation and a wide-scale search. With the help of 18 specialized agencies, multiple ground, air, and water searches were conducted using drones, divers, helicopters, airplanes, and scent dogs over 2,400 acres. Even the central Gering Canal was drained, but no sign of Chance was found. Past any of his text messages or phone calls, investigators stumbled across surveillance footage of Chance around 10 p.m. walking near the intersection of Terry Boulevard and Stable Club Road in Terrytown, Nebraska. Now, Terrytown is only 2 miles from Gering, much closer than any of the previous towns mentioned before where he said he was headed. This surveillance footage is officially the last confirmed sighting of Chance, ever. Quote, for months after Chance's disappearance, there were reports of possible sightings of him in Wyoming and Nebraska, including a possible interaction with a woman at a Walmart in Casper, Wyoming. Police followed the lead and reviewed 6 hours of video footage from that Walmart, but were unable to confirm the sighting, end quote. The department has hired outside investigators and canine teams, performed additional searches and executed even more search warrants, and even conducted a multitude of polygraph tests. Bailey and her family have been helpful and thoroughly investigated. All the family members have been interviewed, and even their properties have been searched by law enforcement. Quote, both families, along with Chance's friend Matt, have conducted their own searches along the river, in the water, and across hundreds of acres of land, but not one of those searches has brought them closer to finding Chance, end quote. As of today, Chance remains a missing person, the case is still open, and in the eyes of the law, they don't have enough evidence to determine whether or not foul play was at hand. However, Bailey and Chance's families are both certain he would never have simply walked away. And then, according to Uncovered, in October of 2021, quote, a human arm bone was discovered near the North Platte River in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, which authorities originally thought could belong to Chance. Initial DNA testing efforts were unsuccessful, but the specimen was then sent to another lab and results are still pending. But because the bone was found with a piece of fabric that didn't match the description of Chance's last known clothing, authorities believe it is an unlikely match, end quote. And even more recently, a few new tips have come forward, but only one that I feel holds any water. And this comes from the cowboystatedaily.com. A new volunteer private investigator working with the Englebert family has recently generated new information that may help fill in some of the holes of Englebert's last steps before his phone went dark. The investigator, who has to be identified by his company name, RD Investigations, has spoken to a former clerk at a convenience store in Scottsbluff who claims to have seen Englebert in the store between 8:30 and 9 p.m. before the brunt of the storm hit. The store was about 2 miles from where Englebert was last seen on surveillance in Tarrytown. The employee said that it had been raining lightly at that point, and he distinctly remembered Chance because the top of his shirt was wet with rain. He further told the investigator that he thought he saw Englebert having, quote, a tense conversation with another man in the back of the store prior to Englebert buying tobacco and a Monster energy drink. As he rang up Chance's purchases, the man he thought Chance had been talking to in the back of the store was being helped at a second register by a coworker. The clerk then told him he distinctly remembered carding Englebert for the tobacco and the fact that he was from South Dakota. The clerk told RD Investigations he recalled teasing Englebert about, quote, crazy people from South Dakota being out in a Nebraska storm. After Chance walked out of the store, the clerk saw the other man hop into an unidentified vehicle but couldn't provide details or what it looked like, or if Chance got into the vehicle with him or took off on foot, end quote. So it's not much, but somebody else was talking to, possibly arguing with Chance Englebert. And if police can possibly ID this new mystery man, then we may just get our answers. In the meantime, this father and husband remains missing. And that, my friends, is the mysterious disappearance of Mr. Chance Englebert. Thank you all again so much for the recent support and kind words. It really does mean a whole lot. And if you would like some more true crime, as usual, I invite you to stick around after the music. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Alrighty. By now, I'm sure you have all heard about the murder of the healthcare CEO, and it looks like they caught the guy this morning, last night, or yesterday morning. And this comes from Jesse Zanger and Renee Anderson of CBS. Quote, Luigi Mangione? We'll go with just Luigi. The suspect in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside of a New York City hotel is now charged with murder. The New York City Police Department and Mayor Eric Adams announced on Monday, that the 26-year-old was taken into custody earlier in the day on forgery and illegal gun charges in Pennsylvania. At the time, he was still considered a person of interest in this case. Quote, he matches the description of the identification we've been looking for. He's also in possession of several items that we believe will connect him to this incident, Adams said on Monday. How did we do it? Quote, good old-fashioned police work. Sure. Police believe Luigi had been traveling around Pennsylvania in the days after Thompson was killed, from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to Altoona, where he was recognized earlier on Monday at a McDonald's restaurant. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch said that the tipster called police after seeing a man who looked like the suspect. Quick interjection, that's what they call good old-fashioned police work, is a tipster calling in. Quote, the suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs, as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask, consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Tisch added, additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset. NYPD officials described the weapon as a possible, quote, ghost gun, and said that the written document was 3 pages long. Tisch said that Luigi was also found in possession of the same fake New Jersey ID that the person of interest used to check into a hostel on Manhattan's Upper West Side, where he was seen in surveillance images without a mask. He was later seen at the Port Authority bus terminal in Washington Heights and was believed to have boarded a bus there after the shooting. Thompson, who was 50, was gunned down by a masked shooter on December 4th outside the Hilton Midtown Hotel, where the United Healthcare was set to hold its annual investors conference. The NYPD called it, quote, premeditated, pre-planned, and a targeted attack, and launched an intense manhunt. Police offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest, and the FBI later upped the ante to $50,000. Officers also recovered a cell phone from the scene, as well as a water bottle and a candy bar wrapper they believe the suspect left at a Starbucks before the shooting. Meanwhile, investigators have been probing every aspect of Thompson's life to try to find a motive. Quote, they're going to look at the business end. You have a company that's laid people off. They're going to look at the personal stories, and they're going to focus on the letters, despite desperate people who were denied care or tests or something that could have saved a life, or who blamed the company, said former NYPD Deputy Commissioner. Thompson, a married father of two, had been in New York City for 2 days before he was murdered. His wife, Paulette, spoke about the family's loss. Quote, Brian was a wonderful person with a big heart and who lived life to the fullest, she said. He will be greatly missed by everybody. Our hearts are broken, and we are completely devastated by this news, end quote. Everybody, the response so far has not been overwhelmingly positive, to say the least. Don't get me wrong, murder is never acceptable. But the truth is, United States healthcare companies don't really care about us. And that makes it hard to care about the literal CEO who makes millions of dollars every year off of dying people. To put it crass. Harsh. The amount of U.S. citizens in medical debt is astronomical, and so was Brian Thompson's paycheck. Sorry. I love getting all riled up in the morning, don't you? Well, that'll about do it for me today, everyone. Thank you all again for taking the time out of your day to listen in. As always, have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday? Wednesday? What day is it? Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Love you.